guys, welcome back to my ASMR channel. Today I'm back for the spooky fans and I have some stories that I'm going to read to you since I haven't been posting scary stories lately. I thought I will get you the scariest ones about Appalachia or Appalachia. I'm never sure how to pronounce it because people pronounce it differently. But anyway, I have three, not two, but three stories for you guys, and I just wanted to take a second to say thank you so much for everyone that has been subscribing to this channel. It means the world to me that we are almost at 1,000 now, and I hope that we will make it this week or next week maybe, and then I can make this special video for you guys. Without further ado though, I just wanted to say real quick that the rebrand is going to start today or tomorrow. You're going to see I'm going to change my name to NanaLandASMR because Midnight Whispers with Naomi seemed to be a bit long and not so catchy, and I did a little rebrand over this week. This is also why I haven't been posting, but I am going to post twice a week now, every Tuesday and Thursday, except for when I'm sick or really can't make it, but I promise. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and let's hop right in because I already yapped too much. Okay, the first story is called I Used to Have a House in the Appalachian Mountains, and I have some stories to tell, and we are here to listen. Recently, I've seen creepy stories of mysterious creatures living in the depth of the Appalachian Mountains blow up on TikTok, so I wanted to share some stories I have of when I lived there. So, to set the scene, I used to have a house in the Maryland side of Appalachian Mountains. We were pretty much completely stranded there, as the nearest neighbor was about 15 miles away, so we had to either go on huge supply runs to the nearest supermarket, which was even farther away, or hunt our food ourselves. Also, I forgot to mention, my mom always dreamed of going into a house or cabin in the deep woods. So we decided to live there for me and my sister's summer. Anyway, we alternated between hunting and going for supply runs. Now, I'll start telling the stories. The first one is when me and my mom went for a hike through the woods and found an abandoned Wild West amusement park called Ghost Town. Probably like 20 minutes into the hike. Once we got there, we got a weird feeling that I cannot physically describe with words. Like it just somehow appeared in front of us. Probably no more than 15 minutes later, we found a huge abandoned hospital. We never knew it for the rest of our stay, but those two buildings were the Ghost Town village, located in North Carolina, and the Allegheny, sorry guys, I cannot pronounce it for the sake of it, lunatic asylum in West Virginia. We started in Maryland, somehow ended up in North Carolina, and then got back to West Virginia and got back to Maryland in less than 2 hours. So this person is insinuating that basically it is not possible and that they were like walking through the forest, ending up in North Carolina and in West Virginia, while actually still being in Maryland. Okay, we stayed surrounded by woods the whole time, not crossing or seeing a single road. That was just the start of the weird shit that happened. The next story is when my mom, so these stories are always from the same person, so it is one story that I'm going to read, but more stories inside the story, if that makes sense. The next story is when my mom took me and my sister to a supply run, and while we were driving, we saw a man with a thick jacket, glasses, a balaclava over his face, and a bicycle helmet trying to hitchhike with his thumb out. It was the middle of summer. Me and my sister told my mom to keep driving, but she pulled over in the road and asked the guy, "Sir, are you okay?" And he didn't respond. "Why are you out here dressed like that?" The man finally spoke, but something was off. His voice didn't sound like it belonged to him. I was too high, like it was put through. It was too high, like it was put through a voice changer. "Ma'am, can I get a ride?" No. Completely disregarding my mom's question, I looked around him and noticed he had no bike, no car, no hiking stick, no backpack, nothing. I whispered to my mom to keep driving, and as soon as the man saw that she was trying to drive away, he let out an animalistic, inhuman scream and started to run towards us. My mom floored it to the nearest police station. And reported the guy, but they never found him. On our way back to the house, we were on extreme edge, but nothing happened. Then that night I woke up to a tapping sound on my window. Guys, you already know what is going to happen. I need a moment. And woke up to the same man. I knew it, standing straight up with his hands on the glass. I lived on the second floor. Shivers. No, he didn't have his sunglasses on. He also didn't have his eyes. When I noticed it, it immediately fell, and when I looked out my window for it, I didn't see anything. No man, no creature, nothing. Like he just disappeared. I was so shocked and scared I hid under my covers the rest of the night. Even though I was 16 at the time, I peeked my head up occasionally to make sure he never came back. Then in the morning I told my mom about it, but it's not like she could do anything about it. The police would never find it, and my parents weren't going out there. This was terrifying, but nothing compared to the next story. I forgot to mention, but we had a dog named Mac. He was a golden retriever and was super friendly and helped us retrieve the animal carcasses when we hunted. Please let nothing happen to this poor dog. One day I was out hunting with my dad, and a couple rabbits, and sent Mac to go get them, but we heard him bark like he was telling us to go to him instead. We walked over to where he was barking and saw a tree covered with dead, skinned rabbits, each with a shark stick through their head and their eyes removed, with a weird symbol carved into the tree. speechless and covered our mouth. We were speechless and covered our mouths in shock. And then we heard someone whisper to us, "Hey guys, come over here." We hooked up Mac to his emergency leash and ran as fast as we could to our house. I looked behind me for who whispered to us and saw a man with a huge smile on his face and his eyes as wide as possible for a human to open them, staring at me, and then began to run towards us with a knife. My dad grabbed his weapon. You guys are going probably to get what I mean, but I hate saying the word pew pew. It sounds so childish. Anyway, he grabbed that and shot him in the leg. I feel like I'm already hitting all the flagged YouTube words. Can you say shot? Yes, I guess. Anyway, let's move on. And he fell to the floor while yelling in pain. Once we reached the house, we called the police and told them about it, and then sent multiple officers to the area, but found nothing. Not the rabbits, no blood, no knife, no fingerprints, not even the rabbits we unalived. For the next couple months, we stayed in a relative's house. None of us felt safe anymore, but my dad, the one who shot the crazy man, was the only one who insisted we stay. Dad said we could defend ourselves, said it was just another crazy, and that we should stay and in the rest of the summer. We agreed, but said if anything else weird or terrifying happens, we go to our house in the city. Then the final story is what made us finally move out. One Saturday, I woke up and saw my mom missing from the house. My dad and sister said she was just going on an errand and that she'll be back in the afternoon. Afternoon came and she got back. Nothing else eventful happened that day until night struck. We let Mac out. We just thought he was gonna go to the bathroom and come back, but we heard him run away deep into the woods, like he was chasing something. I don't know why we didn't chase after him, even after our creepy encounters before this. When he got back, he wasn't energetic. He wasn't acting like him at all. He was moppy, sad, and acting really weird. Normally, we would have just assumed he saw something in the woods that made him upset, but after the previous events, we were on edge. When we fell asleep, I woke up to footsteps coming up the stairs. I peeked out my door and saw Mac, standing up like a human, his fur gray, his arms longer than they should be, and his head twisted upright. Oh my god. His walking wasn't right either. He would walk one step and his body would flop in the direction he stepped. He wasn't walking towards anything either, just roaming the hallway. My heart was beating out of my chest and I called my sister. And after calling her 4 times, she finally picked up. I don't remember anything I said to her, but what I do remember is sneaking behind the thing, pretending to be Mac, and met up with sister. Luckily, the rest of my family slept downstairs. So once I met up with my sister, we were able to wake our parents without going past it. Logically, we stayed in the nearest hotel for the night. We had to go back and get our stuff, so we went back to the house and found it trashed. The food in the fridge was scattered all over the house. And once we got our stuff, we drove away. I looked back to the house and saw the man, the thing in the winter clothes, staring at me. It was the thing pretending to be Mac. I drove back to our city house and never stepped foot into the woods again. Those are very creepy Appalachian stories that I haven't heard anything like that in the whole Appalachian lore on TikTok or YouTube. Well, I've heard about the time and space being changed and how like people found themselves like very far away, like the kids in the David Politis cases, the missing 411, where they like appear somewhere impossibly far away. Again, sorry for the background noise, it's my dog that hasn't turned into a demon yet. And yeah, it reminds me of that, like when she says that, when this person says that they found themselves in South Carolina and West Virginia and Maryland all at the same time. But like a thing pretending to be like inside your dog, or maybe he just pretended to look like the dog and wasn't possessing it. I haven't heard of that yet. Maybe you know more about that, and let me know what you thought of these stories in the comments. But I think after the man appearing on the window, at least I would have been out of there. But you know how I stand with woods and staying in the woods, so I probably wouldn't have been there to begin with. Let's move on to the second story. This is called I Saw Something Terrifying While Hiking in Rural Appalachia. I hate these stories because they're always the most terrifying. And that's good and bad at the same time. Okay, for context, I'm a professional wilderness explorer. Since I was young, my passion had been geared towards the wilderness. I have hiked on rough terrain in many countries. Also, if you hear faint music in the background, my neighbor's kids got a boombox, like a party one, like the ones that are this big or bigger, to roll around the neighborhood and play music like atrocious techno beats. I'm a loss of words, because like they're 10 or like 7, 6, 7, dude, like the oldest is probably 13, and it's late. Like, you're not even supposed to be playing music when you're an adult at this time on a Monday night, but with 7, I mean, come on. Anyway, it's just almost impossible to film this video right now, but I'm trying my best. Okay, let's get into the second story. For context, I'm a professional wilderness explorer. Since I was young, my passion had been geared towards the wilderness. I have hiked through rough terrain in many countries. I know the wilderness like it was my own precious child. I research what specific wildlife lives in the area before I go hiking, so I know what to be prepared for. The this ordeal even more terrifying. One day, while browsing through a travel site of West Virginia, I saw a pop-up for a specific mountain trail. Again, nothing seemed out of the ordinary while researching, and it really seemed like the ideal hike spot, leading up to a beautiful view showing a gorgeous blue lake. When researching the trail, it was mentioned that the area was very isolated, with the nearest town being 123 miles away. It seemed very enticing. Of course, it had to do normal flora and fauna of the region, and it didn't seem odd. It did mention not to disturb the wildlife and to watch where you step because of many false footholds that would break away and cause you to fall down the cliffside. Overall, it's just the normal mountain trail. I spent about a month preparing for this trip. I made sure to contact everyone I knew, so they would know where I was in case I went missing. Then I drove there and started my hike. Once I got there, I relished at the beauty of it all. The start of the trail had a view of many peaks staring down at you, and I thought to myself how the view looked like giant gods towering over the world. I then started on the trail. At first, everything was fine. It was your typical mountain trail. I made sure I took a break every 15 minutes or so I didn't overwork myself and have to call quits. It was around my 5th break that things started to seem off. The birds had stopped singing, and I couldn't hear the chattering of insects. I didn't even hear the wind blowing through the trees. It was as if everything had vanished. After about 5 minutes, I started on the hike again. I was a little nervous on the edge, though, because I was the loudest thing there. It felt wrong, as though I was being watched, stared down by some malevolent force, playing with me. I continued until around break number 20. I stopped getting up my bottle of water, as I had done multiple times before, but as I was putting the bottle to my lips, I realized something was off. I heard twigs snapping about 10 feet behind me. I threw my water bottle down and turned around to see what I heard. I can't describe exactly what I saw. That is a bit too difficult. The creature I saw was vaguely humanoid, bipedal with pale, paste-like skin. Its face, though, was certainly not. It had eyes that I can only describe as being too big for it to fit its face. Its face, though small, still surrounded the eyes. A bit, I swear, its eyes were too big. But I swear its eyes were too big. The creature's mouth was indescribable, but I think the closest I could use for you to picture it would be to say that it was somewhere in between a human and a dog mouth, with 5 layers of knife-like teeth. Its hands were freakishly large, about the size of my arm, and with long, skinny fingers to match. About the rest of it, I can't really describe. It was a sort of a blur, almost hard to see. That's all I remember about its lower half. Well, I would have been distracted by it too, so can't blame him for that. I stood still, staring at the thing. It hadn't noticed me yet, but it wouldn't be long before it did. It was then that I started to sneeze, and then the creature really noticed me. It turns its head around, but instead of attacking me, it spoke. Niggy, it said, in a deep guttural voice. I don't understand, I said, confused, startled by its speaking. It looked at me, pushed its head forward, as if to say, leave. I then started to run, leaving in fear. I made sure it didn't follow, and I ran till I got to my car. I recently tried to research, but I haven't found anything on it. But what I do know is that it spoke in Cherokee. It told me to leave. I have researched the region and have seen that many people have come up missing there. I now think about the human-like sorrow in that creature's eyes, and I think I know why it wanted me to leave. That's a crazy story if that's true. I mean, it is under cryptids Reddit threads, so I'm not exactly sure if this is but it is under true stories, so I mean, these kind of things are always so hard to believe, but I mean, everything is possible. Apparently, these days, I don't question things anymore, so well, I question things, but I mean, it doesn't surprise me if that would be true too, so yeah, that's a very, very, very scary story. I would have probably died of a heart attack right then and there. I wouldn't even have been able to leave. Describing it to me, he kind of describes it like the Hyde from Wednesday. At least that's what I pictured reading the description. But honestly, describing the sorrow in his eyes and it being Cherokee, I feel like it could be a Wendigo story. Like, I've read and heard some Wendigo stories, and it seems that those are people that then turn to this beast due to greed. Correct me if I'm wrong. And well, I mean, it telling it to leave because it doesn't really want to harm him or this person. But yeah, what do you guys think what it could be? Scary, scary story and very well written. I really enjoyed reading it. Okay, let's move on to the third and last story. If the trains and neighbors let me. And yeah, coming in hot with number 3, called I Had a Terrifying Encounter in the Appalachian Mountains, and I'm looking for answers. Let me start by saying I had lived in the Appalachian Mountains all my life and have experienced a lot of strange things. My family was Irish and settled in West Virginia, but I currently live in the North Carolina portion of these wonderful This was nothing I had ever experienced before. It all began with my golden retriever, Ozzy. A lot of golden retrievers in these stories, growling like I had never heard before. He literally never growls, so that had made me really already uncomfortable. But this growl was bone-chilling. It was like he was getting ready to have to fight for his life or something. I took both him and my other dog out. At around 11 p.m. and he would not leave my side. I noticed that my workshop door was open, so I walked down to close and lock it up. The entire time, I noticed that my workshop door was open, so I walked down to close and lock it up. The entire time, he is glued to my side. Ozzy also kept trying to get between my legs, still growling, and all of his hair sticking straight up like a feral animal. The second I closed the door, all hell breaks loose in the woods. It sounded like 50 full-grown men had broken out into a full sprint, tearing through the woods. Trees were shaking and branches falling. In my life, I have never been that scared. We got back in the house before I shed my pants, and I got my pew pew. We got back in the house. Now, my dog is snoring. You can't make this up. Like, honestly. I will never get this video done. Well, you just have to live with him snoring in the background. Maybe it's calming. Yeah, we got back in the house before I shipped my pants, and I got my mag light to figure out what the hell was going on out there. When the dog and I got back outside, we were surrounded by what sounded like people mumbling. It was everywhere. I shined the light all over the woods and couldn't see anything, but the sound was coming from all around. It sounded as if you got a full gym of people to baby mumble. You could almost make out words. That's why I don't think it was an animal. I almost immediately felt sick, like I was having a mix between a panic attack and a full swing of the flu. Back inside the house, it sounded like people were walking around all night. The windows were creaking and you could clearly hear the sound. Back inside the house, it sounded like people were walking around all night. The windows were creaking and you could clearly hear the sound of shoes on gravel. The mumbling never stopped. Every time I got up to check the house, my feet would touch the floor and it would get dead silent. You couldn't hear birds, crickets, frogs, or anything. I was terrified and didn't sleep a wink. The air felt thick and evil all night. That's the only way I could explain the feeling. Imagine a soaking wet guilt being tossed over you. That's how I felt. I'm looking for any answers as to what this could be. This wasn't like the normal spooky stories my grandma and great uncles used to tell me. Well, that sounds terrifying and really, really scary. I have heard a lot of stories of mumblings and things voices sounding like humans mumbling, but in like languages that nobody understands, in relation to Sasquatch or Bigfoot. So maybe it could have been that, or like a swarm of demons or ghosts. I don't know. What do you guys think? And like, I'm so sorry, I can't wake him up. What would you guys have done? Like, because I don't know, I would have probably gotten a panic attack and started crying. This little baby was snoring the whole time. Let me say goodbye with him. Do you want to tell them something? No? Okay. On another note, he looks like a little Sasquatch. Now doesn't he? Doing mouth sounds for you guys. My little Sasquatch. Okay, let me know in the comments below what do you guys think it is. And you know, we are almost at 1,000 subscribers, so it would mean the world to us if you could like, subscribe and share. Okay, you wanted to leave, and I'm gonna leave you guys too now. So good night, relax and go to sleep, and I hope you enjoyed today's video, even though it was quite the thing to film. So relax, sit back, and I see you very, very soon.